Hi, my name's Michael, and today I want to talk to you about The Dead Lake by Hamid Ismailov, and this is translated from Russian by Andrew Bromfield. And Hamid Ismailov is a author from Kazakhstan, but he now lives in Uzbekistan, and this is set in Kazakhstan, and it's a really interesting book that I think needs to be talked about and maybe even recommended to people that are interested in fairy tale type retellings or fairy tale type books. For me, I don't really like fairy tale stories. I get put off by it, but I feel like that's an accurate description for this book because this tells the story of Yozan, who falls in love with his beautiful neighbor when he was 11 years old and she was about the same age, and showing off he jumps into the Dead Lake, which is possibly the Lake Chagrin, which was used for Soviet testing of the atom bomb. That was back in 1965, and today it's still very much radioactive. They say at last reading it is still 100 times over the radioactivity of normal drinking water, so that just gives you an idea of just how radioactive that lake is. And jumping into this lake had some pretty severe effects on Yazan, which basically caused him to never age. And that's where the fairy tale type elements come into this story, because you have this boy that's cursed being prepubescent for the rest of his life, and while he's watching the love of his life grow older, he's stuck as a child. And though his mental capacity and his brain and his experience all cause him to grow as a person, physically he's stuck as a little boy, and as a consequence he's treated as a little boy. I remember when I was rereading Interview with a Vampire, I wanted this type of story. I wanted to explore this whole idea of never growing up and still experience causes growth, and this whole idea of developing mentally and emotionally and sexually, but physically you're still stuck as a kid. And I thought the vampire novel could do a really interesting job of that, but thankfully The Dead Lake did that. I really like the exploration into masculinity in this novel, because there's that whole idea of never growing old, but being stuck pubescent is not what you want when you never want to grow old. You want to hit a perfect age, maybe early 20s or something, and then stop aging. So he's stuck with this curse, and though he's developing as a person, his body isn't, and that's causing that struggle for him and the way people perceive him. This is why it's hard not to refer to this book as a fairy tale type novel, and I really enjoyed that. But this book is something else deeper, and as a Russian novel you can expect it to be satirical and talk about the political issues that are relevant to a Russian. And I know I just slipped up and called this a Russian novel because it was written in Russian, but as an ex-Soviet, there are some interesting issues, and this kind of explores the environmental impact of the Cold War, not just from the Soviet side, but America, and trying to show off their nuclear power by testing atom bombs and just what kind of impact that would have on the world. And having this lake that's still very much radioactive and still very much dangerous kind of explores that in an interesting way. And you've got this whole thing of being cursed because of the environment, and just looking at that whole aspect leads you into a whole different type of novel. That's what made this book brilliant, because you've got two sides. You've got a fairy tale, you've got an environmental allegory that plays out, and very interesting book. I would love to see more people read it and talk about it, because I think these type of stories are well worth checking out. I'm definitely going to be checking out more of Ismailov and just see what his other books are like. And I really love this type of coming of age story, because he's not really aging, but he's still coming of age, and that makes a whole new spin on it. And I'd love to read more books like that, because it's a really interesting topic. And if you want to find me elsewhere, all my links to social media are in the description below. And as always, thank you for watching.